Ladies and gentlemen, this is the next episode of the Combat Ready Frontline podcast in English. My name is Louis Zezeran. I'm joined here by my colleague Remo Oyasta. How you doing, Remo?
Hello.
Hello. We are both instructors, leadership instructors with Combat Ready. We help you navigate. Through your issues. We think that all problems are leadership problems. And in this series of podcasts, we're doing Q&As. We've got audience questions. These have come from different places, live events, online webinars that you've done, different events. And we gather all the questions together and we want to answer them because we think people can learn from this stuff. And you can get some info.
And also it's interesting to talk about them and learn ourselves.
It is. And we learn from these discussions. I learn a lot from having these discussions with you. Absolutely. These questions, I think today are... they're a little bit broader. They're not very so specific example ones. They're really, really broad, sometimes one-liners. And also I think they feel a little bit broad and sometimes a little bit whimsical because they were Estonian questions. And I found when Estonian gets translated to English, it sounds like some weird poetic kind of thing going around about. And maybe when I read these out exactly in English, Estonians who are listening are going to roll their eyes and go, oh, that was the Google Translate version, and you can hear back what the intent was. So let's dive in. Let's go. Question number 1. How can I best distinguish between problems that are my problem and problems that are not really my problem, but I have to take ownership because I'm really bothered by the behavior of others? So it's something about extreme ownership here. How do I take ownership and how do I motivate myself for that?
Yeah, to me, this is kind of like a one-liner answer, I guess.
Okay.
There is no such problem that is not my problem. There's as you said, my problems and the things that I don't like what I see. All the things that I see, they just become my problems. Now it's a matter of prioritizing them based on the resources available in which order I actually solve them. But they are all my problems.
But it's someone else doing it. It's not, me, I could help them, but it's still them. It's still, if they just fucking did it, then...
Sure. And now if it's their problem, it will never solve. If you're the one, because you may be the only one who's seeing it and they don't even know. So first thing you can actually do is just have a conversation. So you don't have to be the solution, but you can address it and through that give ownership or open someone's mind so they can actually start solving it. And you already did your part. And that's how I kind of treat it. Like every problem, I have this one great example I give all the time. If you take your wife, part of your team, your home problems become your team problems. Your company problems. Your company, your team problems become your home problems.
Okay.
So those two worlds are not separate. So if I bring my wife on board, our problems at home will be your problems now because you will start seeing some of those and those problems will start affecting you in whatever way. And the same way, if she's aware of the problems I have at work, those things start to be effect and they will be part of our discussions at home. So the team problems become our problems. So every problem is my problem.
So are you proposing that working with your partner or your wife is a way to bring out relationship issues that you might have because it's going to put you in a more stressful situation, which is naturally going to highlight the issues you have?
Because the question is okay, who does this problem affect? And if I have a problem, it affects the whole team. If my teammate has a problem, it affects the whole team as well. And as I'm part of the team, it becomes my problem because if it's not solved, it affects all of us anyways. So that's why I don't do any distinguish. I don't separate them. Okay. All the problems are my problems.
Yeah, okay. That sounds like almost a little way that when I'm working as a freelancer, as I have for many years now, whether it's a personal task or issue that I have to solve, whether it's a company task or I have to issue to solve, they're all the same. I don't have work tasks and home tasks. They're all on the same list. There's just things I have to deal with today because they're all, if I have something at home that's causing my time, well, it's going to take away from the work that I'm doing. If I've got too much of that, it's going to take away that. So I appreciate if someone's got a job at a company, they go to an office every day, they might think here's the list of things I do today and they go home, there's a larger separation.
Yeah, I would say like treat your home as it's one of the departments in your company. Because that's just another department of your life, which has to be like working. And if one of the departments doesn't work, what happens? The whole team loses. So it's just another department. It has different relationships there, but it's the same. It doesn't kind of deviate in any way. So one thing before we established Combat Ready, I thought that I built up, I don't know, a system or an idea or a plan where like how to track your own life. Like I'm the CEO of my life and I have financial department, I have relationship department, I have health department. So I have different departments in my life and I can utilize those because I'm the CEO. Now I can put effort in one of those. So it's not a matter of having a lot of problems in different departments. It's just a matter of prioritizing them in which order you have to solve them. And usually the problems you have at home, they have a quite high priority. So you just have to find time and prioritize them because otherwise everything will still go in the wrong direction. So treat your life as you are a CEO of it and you're also the owner of that company, your life. So you have different departments, see which one is lacking the most and put effort over there and then prioritize and execute through it.
I'm going to come back to this idea. Actually, I'm going to pick out another question that leads me towards that with this idea of how people view the work, how they see the home, and they're afraid of putting them together because they think they're these different things in different ways. But before I move on to that question, I want to dig into the wording of this question just before I leave this one. The question was, and again, translated from Estonian, how can I distinguish between problems that are my problem, okay, and problems that are not really my problem, but I take on, well, because I'm really bothered by the behavior of others. That we say intent has a smell. And to do this framework of extreme ownership and to say, I am going to solve these problems or I'm going to find a way through them, the wording a little bit between the lines here is I will look at all these other problems begrudgingly. I will do it because, all right, the Jocko said that I got to take on all these issues to solve them and I'm the only one who can solve them. So that's not how these things go. It's that you genuinely and actually have to see that. And if you are still thinking that it's actually your problem, but I appreciate that I've got to solve it, so okay, I'm going to take them on, then that's still your ego talking, and that's not actually what we're getting at here.
Yeah, and there can be like two ways how to think about it. It can be like you're not taking ownership of things, or you just don't know how to prioritize and execute, because that always come into the play. Like, and if you don't prioritize and execute correctly, then you can go in extreme with taking ownership in a way. Like you have zero influence of who's going to be the next president of USA. So if you don't have any influence, then don't worry about it. You can't do anything.
That's very stoic.
And that's it pretty much. And I think if you go too far extreme in any of those principles what we teach, it means that you're not prioritizing and executing correctly. So because otherwise you will burn out. Like if you try to solve the world hunger, but you don't have the resources. That's why I love one of the saying from Patrick Cote was that if you want to really change the world, first become a billionaire.
Sure.
Then you have resources to actually do something about it.
Right. It's something you said in the first part of the answer to this question is like in this idea of looking at all these problems of extreme ownership, you're not going to solve them all, but you take responsibility for them. So I think people think that you're going to go around and be like, there's a solution. Just do this, we'll fix it. Right, I fix up that, but it's not that, is it?
No. For example, like if you have a garbage bin at home and it's full, now whose problem is that? Maybe you have a few kids, you have a wife. Now it is all of your problem. Now you can take that out yourself and the problem is solved. But now every time it gets filled, you have to do something with it. So eventually you can also solve this problem by teaching your children why they should take out their trash, why they should clean up the room, And now you have the possibility to actually, like, you still took ownership of the problem, but the method is not you. You are winning yourself time because, like, it's very unlikely that your 8-year-old kid can figure out best way how to financially live through the depression in the next 5 years, or how to get better pay at work. But what they can do is that they know very well, and maybe even better, how to take out the trash. So that's something which is their capability. So you can decentralize those things and you can win back time. So you can actually deal with the things where you are more suitable and where the other team members are not. So I think that's how I kind of treat those things in general perspective. So
the strategic play there as well is, okay, fine. As the parent or as the person, I'm also part of this team. The responsibility is on me to make sure the trash goes out. So I can do it myself, as you spoke of. Now, if I want to get the kids to do it, there are 2 methods broadly that I can use. The first one is I can go, do it. Command. Use my authority to say that I am the parent, you are the child, this is the chore you have to do. The second option is, or do I teach them about the consequences? Why do they need to do that? Why can't a parent just do it? Why do they need to learn this?
And I think the why part is the most important. You're not doing it because you don't want to take out the trash. You're doing it because you can actually think strategically, because the kids may not be able to do that. So you're actually able to be the most valuable for the family or for the team by thinking strategically on the things that they can't be thinking. So that's the same thing with the CEO or whoever it is that you're leading. Like, are you the one who should be, I don't know, booking your appointments or answering some random email? Or you can actually outsource that to someone so you can actually deal with where you are providing the biggest value for your team. So I think those are like same kind of things. It's sometimes more understanding and defining what the ownership is, and the solution in reality, how to execute those things, is in prioritize and execute and decentralizing it.
All right, next question. And the one I wanted to get to as well. So the question is, today's work culture is inclined towards flexibility. Military training does not favor it. How do I find the golden mean? So this is coming back to the idea that, because I was thinking of, there are different strategies for dealing with the different departments of life. And people might think that I'm very proficient project manager at work, and maybe you instinctively understand that, but then they come home and they use a completely different rule book or playbook or bicycle to get the job done. And people think that the military, the root of this is they have a lack of understanding of actually how the military works. And that for these different areas of life, we need these different systems, these different bicycles to help us, different playbook to help us navigate, but it's not really that at all.
Yeah. I mean, in the way how... So can you repeat the question?
Okay, so let's go back to the... Sorry. Today's work culture is inclined towards flexibility. Military training does not favor it. How to find the golden mean? The middle ground between that.
Yeah, I mean, exactly as you said, like there is a wrong assumption there.
They're associating military discipline with telling people what to do, and you have to do this strict schedule.
So there is a dichotomy, of course, right? So if you want more freedom, you have to be more disciplined. Like if you want more flexibility, for example, if you want to be more flexible in terms of your body, you have to flex more. You have to have a disciplined scheduled or disciplined training program to get yourself, your body more flexible, because it only happens like small inch at a time. So you have to be disciplined every day to get there. If you lack discipline, then you don't get more flexible. So that's how it is in the military. That's how it is with everything. Like discipline equals freedom. You want to be more free, you have to be more disciplined, regardless of are you in the military or are you in the civilian world or wherever you are.
I feel like this person is taking a very literal example, which is their mind is the soldier gets up at 6 a.m., does physical training, runs around, does this jumping jacks, is ready to go for the next thing by 9 a.m. there is a set schedule for them that throughout the day. And in the workplace, as they've said, we're going towards flexibility. People can come a little later, stay a bit later, as long as you get the work done, work from home. I think that's what they're seeing. Those two things are saying, hey, they aren't different, but that's not quite apples to apples.
Yeah, exactly. And the military is not like that. It's, yes, there are certain things that you have to perform, but those morning disciplines that they do every day, that provide them the flexibility on the other half of the day. So that's where their flexibility comes from. And in reality, they are more flexible because they have more routines in the beginning, so they can free their mind, and they can actually, because they have the strategic things going for them. Body is good, stomach is full of food, your teeth are clean, and now you can actually start working on the things that you need to require your attention on. But it actually still works in the same way. There is absolutely zero difference.
A lot of people have a stereotype about the military in the morning, but not many people seem to have a stereotype about the military in the afternoon, in the evening, which is what you just pointed out. Okay, maybe early to bed, let's say fine. But we get it. They get up early and they jump around and run around the track 7 times and get that. But then it's like, what exactly a soldier does after the morning routine is actually quite unknown.
Well, it depends on what is the situation. If you're in home base or if you're in training, yes, you can have a really strict schedule. You can be at bed at 10. You can wake up at 6. You get your 8 hours of sleep. You do your morning. You pretty much what you do on your free time, you train. You train your shooting skills, you train your moving skills on the field, you train your communication skills, you train your specialist skills. A medic deals with how to treat better their patients, all that kind of stuff. But then if you're in a combat area, there is not that much of training anymore. You may not be, you may be waking up 3 times in the night because you're on a schedule. You're sleeping, you're on the guard, you're sleeping, you're on taking guard. And sometimes you wake up at 6, sometimes you don't go to sleep at all. So then the flexibility comes in because you adapt to the environment and the situation, and you figure out how to survive this with the best of your ability, having the resources that you have. You have a certain amount of men, you have certain amount of understanding what is the combat ready, so to say, that you are ready to do your tasks, and based on those criteria, you adjust your routine and you build a new one. And the routine you have in a barracks, it's totally different than the routine you may have in a war zone.
Sure, those two very different modes, which is something not often people in civilian life have. They go to their job. They go to the job, and that's it. Again, I think this example isn't quite apples to apples. Work culture is flexible. Military training doesn't favor it, because when you're on the base and let's say you're doing home-based stuff, right? That's your whole life. And so you might go, wow, Remo, you have to get up at 6 a.m. or 5:30. You have to do certain PT activities. Then by 0700, you're in the chow hall. By after that, it's shower time. Wow, that's super flexible. You have nothing to do with your day. But then if you think of your life, civilian life, as the whole thing, not just work, you have a routine too. You get up at a certain time. You have to get the kids away. I bet you have breakfast at the same time. I bet you're in the shower roughly at the same time every day. Mm-hmm. So if we actually view our whole life, again, blurring these boundaries between these different departments, it's really not that different. Everyone has that same routine.
Yeah, pretty much it's like if the soldier life is like when there's no war, you're preparing for war. Whichever way you prepare. Now, if you're at war, you are as good as your preparation were. Now, in the real world or in the civilian life, you have the same things, but they are more ingrained with each other. But sometimes when you go to school, when you go to the whatever, then you have more flexibility in terms of deciding what your day looks like. On a weekend, you have a certain amount of tasks that you have to come. So you're different, most likely. Your weekend looks totally different than your like Monday to Friday. So that's the same thing. Where you're preparing and where you're actually executing. So I think these are the ideas behind it, in my opinion.
I think that a lot of people, it's one of the areas where I struggle to make the connection between military and civilian life and the workplace, let's say military and business examples, or I've got to put the most effort to combine them together, is in the military training and the day-to-day are really clear. As you just said, you're on the base, you're training, you're practicing your shooting, you're practicing maneuvering, you're doing planning, you're learning, got to be preparing. And when you're at the war, you're at the war, and it's obvious. And so when we say to people, how is your training realistic? It's easy to explain in a military example. If I'm training to be a better marksman, I need really thinking examples. I need someone who shoots at me. I need that realistic thing. But you need to do, like any skill, if you want to be a better shooter, you need to do deliberate practice to become a better shot. You need to go to the firing range every day. You need to be practicing against targets that are not just sitting there, that are actually moving around and thinking. Deliberate. And like anyway, if you play the piano, you need to sit down and do deliberate practice every day. Where I think people struggle is that most people in an office are doing knowledge work. I'm an accountant. I'm working in human resources. I'm a lawyer doing documents. And it's not as clear how to do deliberate practice for a knowledge worker. I'm an accountant. I want to get better at being an accountant. How do I practice being an accountant? I'm going to sit down and practice accounting 3 times a day. No, it's typically you do your college and then maybe you go to a training course once in a blue moon. But then after that, it's just you're working. You're in the war the whole time. And it's harder to get that analogy across of deliberate practice for knowledge workers. I've struggled with that for a few years.
I think in terms of being in war and being in the civilian world every day, it's you have to be really good at prioritize and execute, because you have more things going on, because you need to kind of train at the same time as you fight.
Right. Okay. It's not that broad separation that's really clear.
Yeah, you have to be doing informal trainings. You have to be listening more. You're learning through different means, so you don't have a separate time for that. You just have to learn on the job, so to say. And what I also wrote down here, maybe one of the examples is also like, let's not take military, but let's take basketball or any team sport or any sport. So you have a time where you prepare for your championship game.
Practice, sure.
And then you have your championship game when you actually go and execute. And the matter how well you actually executed, that turns out how good is your result. And now if you had to play basketball all the time, the only way how to learn is in the middle of the game. You have to adjust based on the feedback you get during there. So that's why you have the breaks, the timeouts. And those are places where they can actually adjust a little bit of the strategy, what they see. And that's why there is a trainer or a coach who's detached, who's seeing a bigger perspective, because the players are in tunnel vision differently. Yes, there is a game player, the leader, but then there is someone who's actually seeing it. And then actually there is a crowd who may see something as well, but they are not a legitimate source of information. But then there's so many ways how you can actually train. So you just do it based on the resources available. And during the basketball game, you only have those 1 minute breaks where you can actually do it. You have the halftime break, which is a 10-minute. So now you, based on the time available, you have to look, okay, what can we now teach, what we can actually implement. And that's something which can be transferred into the business world as well. Like, we have this vacation, we have weekends, we have the evening time. So those are possible like timeouts and the halftime breaks, when you have a little bit more time to think through, okay, how can we do it better next week? So that's where the debriefs come in very often and very useful, because now you're able to adjust while you are playing basketball. And yeah, I think that's something to like think and open up your perspective from a different angle from the sports world as well. And I think that same applies. Like if you're an engineer, if you're a communication expert, if you're whoever, then that's the time you get is what you get on a regular day. Then you have vacations, time like that. You can sacrifice and prioritize the time better. And then you have more flexibility next week.
Mm-hmm. Now, these small breaks that we need to have, these timeouts, this is a really good analogy. We have a basketball game. We're always playing the game, but we get these timeouts, these where we can stop, look around, maybe even have a coach, get a debrief, get feedback, and to have these moments. This is where I think that I still prescribe to the getting things done system. It's just a sort of a way of organizing your day and your week and your work and your tasks and the projects. And it is specifically saying that each day you need to set aside 15 minutes to just make sure all your shit is in order. Your task, you're going throughout the day, you've probably written down a bunch of notes, you've probably put a bit of information here and there. You need to spend 15 minutes to just collect that information, get these in order, double check, okay, what are the most top priorities for the day, of course, and make sure that, and you take 15 minutes to stop and think about the work that I'm doing today. Because I wonder how many people just dive straight in. They open their email and dive straight into the next set of whatever the thing is at the top. Or they've got some broad, rough idea of what they should be doing today. And getting things done, GTD, keeps working on top of that. That at every week you should have a weekly review, which is a longer amount of time, 1, maybe 2 hours for that, where you're sitting down and going, what are my projects? What do I need to do something, and taking a more strategic view. Each day, you're probably not looking at your big strategic list. Fair enough. Each day, we're trying to fight the fires, do what we do. We're not changing our broad direction. But each week, and I do it each Monday. I've got a little checklist. I'm going to check all the projects. Should I be doing something? Each project on my list of projects, should I be doing something for that this week? What do I have to do for that this week? What's the next thing I need to do there? And it's more about taking that time to stop and think. And that's a little personal debrief moment. Now, you might abstract that out to a group and have a group meeting as well.
And I'm doing those things on Sunday.
Okay, yep, sure.
Yeah, because I figured like a long time ago that weekends and vacations are the best way how to move past from a competition.
Okay.
Because while they are like, it's like with the enemy. While enemy is sleeping, I'm training. Kind of like analogy. Now you can go extremes with that, and you will fucking fail. Mm-hmm. But that's how I always thought that this is a free time where the people are not training, and I can actually train. Even if I do it 1 hour, I'm more prepared on Monday. And while I go on the Monday, the enemy is still starting to plan. So I'm already a little bit ahead of their other loop. So. And I think another thing what I wrote down is that, which I kind of connected at the moment, is that like while you're playing the championship game or playing game in basketball, that is the crisis management. Like if you want to manage a crisis, you have to have those timeouts as soon as you can. Like and you have only a certain amount of chances to manage the crisis. Now, while you're during the crisis, it's very difficult to adjust in a way where you're actually going to change the whole skill level like that.
Okay.
You say one thing, oh, now everyone is really good at shooting threes. Mm-hmm. Now they're not. Or you're saying something, and now they are actually making the free throws in 100% time. No. So while you're managing the crisis during the basketball game, that will show you the leaks, what you are lacking of. Now the real change of seeing the better, like longer change, is what you do off the court, after the game, in the locker room, when you're at the reviewing the tapes of the game, what we learn from there, what kind of mistakes we know. Now, if the people are able to extract their huge lesson learned, now they can actually build their training around where they lack the most or what their strengths are the biggest. And so now next time when they go and execute, they can actually adjust their game, and because then you have more time to actually refine your strategies. You have more because you have more time. There's a lot of more time than 1 minute.
Right. In the business GTD example I gave, that might be day to day. Wow, I'm really lacking on this. I'm finding this thing hard. I don't have a skill here, or I need to start a new I'm not going to start a new strategic direction on a Wednesday afternoon, but I will make a note of it. So whenever my Sunday, or for me, it's first thing Monday morning, when I get up, that I will think about factoring it in later on, but I need to record it down. I need to have had that mini debrief with myself to know and record that to, I got to get to this later. I got to think about training. Or maybe I don't have an answer to that. I'm going to let it sit for a couple of days, let the brain, tick it over. And then by Monday morning, I'm like, oh yeah, I can just take an online course and learn that. I should do that. I will start that process.
And you have to take that moment, because if you're only, like most of the companies, they're all the time playing the basketball. So they only have those small timeouts. But if you really want to change the course, you have to prioritize the after action things that you're actually doing, like during the training, because if you don't do, you will be still constantly and forever will be managing the crisis. Otherwise it just doesn't go away.
All right, next question. This is like not even a full sentence. It's so high level. When to listen to feedback and when not to listen to feedback.
It's kind of the same, in my opinion. You should always listen to it.
All right. What if, sometimes it's not actionable, not relevant.
Sure. And then it all boils down again to prioritize and execute.
So you've got to decide.
If you don't have enough time, and if you think that this information is not relevant, it may be, but you think that it's not, then write it down, come back to this later. Okay. Because there must be something there. Now, but it all depends on how much time you have available, and it's impossible to address all the problems. So that's why you have to pick one and then go with it and actually make it happen. And after you made it happen, then take next one and next one. And if you want to solve multiple things at the same time, use your team and delegate those issues or problems to someone and give ownership of them solving that themselves. So then you're able to actually, maybe that's a feedback that they need more or whatever, and they have more time to actually look through it, or they are more suitable of taking that input. Because if someone is telling me that this tank, the pipes that we are using, they are not working because X, Y, Z, I have no idea what you're talking about. So maybe you go and talk with the pipe guy. Okay. Who actually knows something about it, so they can actually take that feedback, because I'm not understanding anything what you're saying. So it's a matter of critical thinking, but I think one of the key things is that you should always try to find enough time to actually get that information in, because if you're not, then that's very bad for the whole team. So that's why you have to take that time to actually prioritize the things. So everything is in prioritize and execute, pretty much everything.
Another way, I think the way that I originally interpret that, and I realize I just totally put my own spin on it, is the question is how to outflank your own ego. So it's not that, so the question is more like, what if this isn't relevant feedback? What if I don't need to do that? And it might actually be. So that could be a prioritize and execute thing, or it could be that my ego, either actually that's just not something we want to do at all. Maybe that is a dumb comment. I'm not sure. But we need to somehow flank our egos so we can understand whether I'm legitimately turning down this bit of, I'm not prioritizing it. I'm doing prioritize and execute. I'm prioritizing it down. But I'm doing it because of my ego. Because my ego says I don't want this feedback. And now some of the techniques you talked about, write it down, give it some time, show it to a colleague. These things can help us flank our own egos.
Absolutely. And I mean, you can give feedback back by asking questions. Okay. So why do you think, so if you don't understand it, like, okay, why am I not understanding it? I'm clearly not saying it correctly because the other person thinks that I need to know it. So if other person in my company or in my team thinks that this is relevant, it seems to be very relevant to them. Now I need to understand and take a time to understand what it is, but you can actually like solve it by asking questions. So yeah, that's what I would do.
Okay. Keep asking questions back, and earnest questions, genuine questions, not silly ones, like not ones that are kind of showing you like, oh, really? You really think that? Like genuinely trying to understand where their feedback that can help you flank your own ego.
And I think that the decision making loop very well comes in play. Like number one is time. How much time do we have? Then the second thing, cover move, the 4 laws of combat. Like, is this helping me or does it help the team? The third one comes in play now. Do I even understand what's going on? Simple. Like, do I understand what's the problem? Does the other person understand what's the problem? If you don't, why I'm not understanding what it is going on? So this is a good checklist to actually follow when you're actually in that kind of situation. So, and if you ask some of those questions, you should be starting to get in the right direction already.
All right, good. Off we go. Let's do one more. We're going to do one more. They said, okay, it said that what do you do when the team is waiting for the leader to make a decision and the leader doesn't want to make it, and the team can't make a decision on their own? So what do you do when you're sitting around waiting? The leader doesn't want to make a decision. They haven't haven't told us what to do yet. So what can the team do in that situation?
They can make a decision.
But it's the boss. He's the boss. Boss is boss.
So you can help then you can understand why doesn't the leader want to make a decision and what's stopping them, and ask those questions and help them make the decision. Help give them understand why they can't make it. Do they don't have enough information? Do they have too much information? They don't understand what's the actual problem. So figure out what's stopping the leader to make decision, and then figure out how you would do it, and then just support the leader.
Right. Asking these genuine questions. Hey, boss, how come is this? We want to move on this. And this might be hard. Who knows? Who knows what? Because we don't know what difficult situations the boss is facing up above. Mm-hmm. Who knows what is the political situation that you don't quite know, and you're sitting down here at the bottom rungs waiting for an answer. So it's not just going to be maybe going full on, hey, boss, why haven't you made a decision yet? But you've got to use your own intuition and tact to understand what are the questions you're going to ask.
And even that's a question. That's a good one. Yeah. That's better than not asking.
Sure.
So regardless of what you ask, at least you're asking, and at least you are taking initiative, right, and you're starting to pull the thread and understanding, okay, what's stopping them from making decisions. So now if I understand it better, now I can either provide the information, I can provide the gap and help them make the better decision.
Right. Hey, boss, is there something, I see that this is an issue. Is there something I can do to help you? Not just, why haven't you done it? It's not quite it. I can see this is tough, or I can see there's a lot of things that are causing this. Look, is there possibly anything that we can do at our level to support you to make that decision? Can we get you more information? Can you, or do you just want a soundboard off me? Or is there something else that we could do from this lower level that will help you maneuver in as you're maneuvering up and out?
So yeah, you should always, regardless of the situation, you should always try to, like by default, you're always building relationship. You're always building the leadership capital. Okay. So regardless of how you do it, you should always, at all times, be aware of, does it actually help the leader, or is it your ego that you're not making decision and now you want them to look stupid or whatever. So, and also if you're in and you see that there is a vacuum and you have a little bit of more time, then just talk one-on-one. Don't do it in front of the team.
Absolutely not.
Just go and utilize those moments where you can actually make things happen. You're actually supporting them, not pushing them more closer to the failure or the hole where they already are. So don't make it even harder for them. Right. So they have to start fighting their ego and emotions.
It's not a threat. It's not like, why haven't you?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, separate it, and then based on the information you learn, you make a next move.
Can you genuinely help them? That you have to go into that conversation thinking there's something I can do to help. Maybe there is, and I just want my boss to know that I'm here. Maybe there's nothing I can do.
And if you don't get the answer, give it a little bit of time.
Okay, bit of time, sure.
Give it a little bit of time and see what you can still do to mitigate those risks that you can see might happen, and be still there to support.
That you were there to support. That even if there is, look, the boss goes, look, there's some politics going up here. There's really nothing that you guys on the front line can do. But you went to your boss and genuinely said, hey, man, I just want to support you. Even if there's nothing you can do, they're still going to think you've built the relationship that day by genuinely offering.
The least you can do is that you can build a better relationship with the boss.
The bosses, and maybe the boss just feels better that, hey, someone actually took the time to care about this situation.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you're helping your boss, you're helping your team, you're helping yourself. At least you did something.
Yes. All right, we're going to wrap it up there today. Now, as we took a little break in the middle there, I have a situation to solve. I have to take ownership for a problem that I created. I accidentally sent about 100 emails to Combat Ready customers today from our system. I hit the wrong button, or I hit the button and it was only 5 seconds later did I then realize that people were going to get a bunch of spam emails. So I'm going to take ownership for that problem. I'm going to reach out to those people, use it as an opportunity to say, hi, I'm sorry about that. Hey, we're Combat Ready. I'm Lewis. I did this. Please ignore any emails. It's not the worst problem in the world. You got an extra email. It's not like I really inconvenience people, but I feel like I would still like to use it as an opportunity to say, hey, that was me. And hope you have a good day.
And it's a good opportunity to say hello.
Hello again. Always trying to build the relationship with every interaction. Remo, thanks for your time today.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.